Well, let's talk about, Switch. You're like the original Switch god over here. It's insane.
Yeah, it really is. I think.
Why? Did you just want to challenge yourself, or do you felt more natural? And that's like, what was going on there?
Definitely at that time, I just felt that there was a lot of emphasis on individuality. And I think that it's important to me, and I don't know if it's important to a lot of skaters, but I just felt that it's important to differentiate yourself, and I wouldn't have been able to articulate that at the time, but in retrospect, thinking about it, I think a lot about what I felt at the time, and I just knew that in order to stand out and sort of, make a name for myself or sort of just be different than other people, it was important to think about skateboarding in a different way. Right. And I think that another thing about that time is just that there was a lot of progression going on, and it was just constant, and I think if you talk to Henry or Mike or later on Eric, of course, but there were, that was just kind of what was happening, Day One was a big part of that. Kareem, there's just so many people pushing, and
Day One's still pushing.
Yeah, Day One definitely still pushing. So I just knew intuitively, in order for me to make a place for myself, that I would have to do things differently.
Right.
And I think as skateboards evolved and the noses got longer, it made that possible.
Definitely.
So a huge inspiration for me at the time was Naudis, actually. Okay. I was skating in San Francisco, and I remember seeing Naudis. He just straight nollied up brown marble benches, which was right around the corner from Embarcadero.
Right.
And after I saw that, I just kind of went full bore into nollie mode. And I just essentially learned every possible trick I could think of nollying.
Right.
Wow.
And it just naturally progressed into being able to do
Switch.
All those tricks backwards.
Right.
Fakie?
So, you never got into fakie? Was that a big thing?
I think fakie was something, but it wasn't as interesting as, going off the nose backwards,
Okay, yeah.
And that's just kind of just how I thought about it.
Wow. It's great, man.
If you look at a lot of the skaters that we all looked up to at the time in the 80s, from Gator to Cab to Chris Miller, Lance, Mark Gonzalez, Naudis, they were all like, every single one of those guys is like a pillar, they're their own being, with their own style, with their own tricks.
For sure.
And I just felt that in order to be that type of skater, that, you needed to come out with something fresh.
Right. I love it.
Yeah.
And literally, Switch God. Salman Agah, hashtag Switch God. No, for real. It's funny.
I'll tell you, let me just back up for a second. So when I first started skating, I pushed Mongo. And so,
which made it easier to push Switch.
It
just, faster.
That's the thing. Like, so when I first started going backwards, it just felt natural. And I think that, one of the reasons why people recognized me for that was because it did look very natural.
Okay.
It didn't ever look awkward. And I think that there were a lot of guys trying to skate Switch and were doing trick Switch at the time, but it definitely looked Switch.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So I think that played to my advantage.
Yeah.